Regarding what I was pointing out of the indigenous generally having no particular value. Now you've had over the weekend, based upon the real-time lapse in this sequence of tapings, so you've had 3 days. Let's get down to what it is. The allure of the exotic, the call of the non-indigenous. From every example that I could have made up, pointed out to everyone that you could have thought of since Friday. The allure of the exotic is no less than this. It is the drive at the cellular level in man's nervous system to move into, to explore unsettled regions of the brain. Now that is the basis of it. From that springs all of the other allures of the far away. Even though that the ordinary old intelligence could try and explain it in other fashions, which would be true enough for city purposes, about why someone wants to move to a different area, why someone wants a different sexual partner, why someone wants a new set of beliefs. All of that springs from the cellular level's drive to move into areas, not simply of in Nepal, Patagonia, not simply to move out physically into unexplored areas insofar as you're concerned, but all people's nervous system, by and large, all people's nervous system, has built in at the cellular level a hunger that you are, in a sense, not to push metaphors to the point that you take the metaphors as being serious and them being the point, which the metaphors aren't the point. Or just because I can drag out a metaphor and you go, aha, I see how they connect, bully for you. It's not bully for me. And to draw out a metaphor that seems to make some sort of even neurobiological sense is not the point. Even if you see the point, then you got to jump on and see, all right, why is life arranged this way, or at least be pleased that, aha, life is arranged this way, and everybody only takes it up to what appears to be the springboard of the metaphor. Is that confusing enough? Back to where I was going to say. All of the ideas of the Lewises and Clarkses moving out, taking over, charting the Wild West of the United States, all of the great Spanish explorers charting, mapping, conquering South America, all of the explorations, apparently through history, are simply a manifestation of that same kind of hunger that you at the cellular level have all these homesteaders just waiting for them to holler, everybody running, tomorrow we're going to open up the Oklahoma Territory, we're going to open up what is now Paraguay, and whoever gets there first, you can have 10 little acres all your own. You've got at the cellular level that kind of hunger going on if you're just in the middle class, if you're just in the middle of the bell curve. Now, if you're at one of the extreme ends, which I would suggest that from a certain 5D view, people who are interested in this are pushing at such extremities, the hunger is even worse, except you never know where to direct it. But it's like them opening up territories that the government decides, all right, everybody be here at such and such time on such and such date, and at noon everybody can run, take your horses and all your family, and you get out in whatever area that you can go over, and we're going to have it laid out or some kind of markers, and whoever gets there first, you can have that 10 acres. Squatters' rights, it's homestead, that you can have it. You got to stay there and work it and live there, but it's yours free. Well, imagine people that had nothing, or just people that were real greedy, showing up and waiting to run and grab brand new, unexplored, virgin land, free. So you might try and picture that that could be a heady experience, and you could have many, many people lined up ready to go. It is even worse amongst some people at the cellular level. That is what they're doing. That is why people will do such things as take all kinds of substances, drugs, not even sure of the outcome. They're unpredictable. Why people will starve themselves, why people will stand up for hours or days and whirl and chant and throw up and meditate and leave the country and come back to the country. Give all their stuff away, then try and get it back. Go here, go there. It is all an attempt that you've got, if you can imagine that, this starting line. And the cells, of course, have never had it announced that the government is going to open up the Oklahoma territory and let all the people in. Your cells don't know what's going on, but they keep waiting. They keep looking as where can we go? Where is the new territories? Where is tomorrow's Oklahoma coming from? And it doesn't know. It asks, but everybody else it asks. It's not the way it comes out verbally, of course, but everybody else it asks. They go, hey, don't ask me. I don't know. I'm looking. There is great potential, practical, everyday, down-home benefit if you can remember this as you continue to have faraway dreams. Of whatever nature, sexual, financial, social. Does that about cover it? But just the kind of dreams of, God, I wish I was so-and-so. I wish I could go to such and such place. I wish I could be around certain kinds of people. It's not that per se any of the examples, any of the things that you would imagine are either here or there. But you could find it to be of real benefit, individually, secretively, to have this kind of continuing awareness that as you're sitting there looking at a National Geographic and it's showing little villages outside, little towns outside Palermo and little cafes, and you're thinking, if I could be there with those good, start to say Pomeranians, but I won't do that. If I could be over there in the old Europe, the real Europe, if I could be there and relax and paint or meditate. All of those dreams, whatever they are, it's all right. But it could do you quite well if you would simply remember that even though at that ordinary level, if one of your friends said, well, what is it that attracts you about travel, or what attracts you, do you think, about the Mediterranean area? And you go, well, all right, I'll tell you. That sort of thing is irrelevant when it comes to trying to figure out how life is working, to try and see it. It's simply to remember, is what I'm encouraging you, that it is the cellular level of your own nervous system, like standing at a line. There's been no rules posted. They don't know what area is going to be opened up. They don't know whether the government's giving it away. They don't even know why they're there. But remember, my diagrams of line level consciousness drawn through the brain, as you have, at the cellular level, you've got some molecules down there that have been percolating. They've been staying around. They've been kicking the dirt. And they've been spitting, rubbing their faces, looking at the sun, looking at the moon, staring this way, waiting for something. What's going to happen? What's all this about? Who's going to turn us loose? Where do we go? If I get there, do I get to keep it? Nothing is known, more or less. You could specifically remember this to your benefit, I suggest to you, when you are experiencing any of the old thoughts regarding self-improvement and change. Specifically. Not just the travel, not just I wish I had finished school, or I'll go back to school, or I'll move to the other side of the world, or I'll become a hermit. Not just those things that would apparently be fairly easily to physically fulfill, or it's possible. Go beyond that to all of the old dreams that you've always had about how you should be different. Those that you've never questioned. Just, well, there's some things I do that I shouldn't do. There's some things I should be doing that being involved with this, you still have not even let that, in a sense, supplant, even suppress that kind of feel of some of the old ideas that you had of things you should do. Again, I repeat, it's not neither here nor there what they are, but you could use it to individual practical benefit to remember what I'm describing to you, of what the basic, down to the cellular level, what the allure of the exotic is your nervous system. Got nothing to do with Australia, South America, quitting drinking, losing weight, getting to be strong, saving up for a nose job, getting your master's degree, getting rich. All of that seems true and valid enough at the city level. But to remember that all of that springs from one place, it springs right in here, right inside my skull. It's I've got some cells down there, and everybody's got some doing this, but you have got some in there who are crying out for the Oklahoma Territory. Open it up and let us in. Let me grub stake, let me homestead a new area. That's what it is. If, in the proper way, you can remember and begin to actually feel that in a place that has no observable 3D feeling, I suggest that it can... I shouldn't suggest that, should I? It could give you a different view, a different feel about self-improvement, all forms of change. Now, I'm not going to say that you'll stop. I shouldn't even said that, should I? I suggest it might give you a different view of it, to know what the basis of it is. It is life attempting to grow at, when I say cellular level, I assume you know that in the 3D world that is at least fairly fitting and subject to verbal description, I am inferring the human level that we are as basic as can be described. That down at the cellular level in your nervous system is the desire, the hunger, not just to go to Europe, not just to go to Chile, Antarctica, not just to go move to New York, not to move into a different social strata, but those cells trying to move, wanting to move into an unexplored, unsettled area of your brain, which of course is everybody's brain, which is life's brain, as manifested here. To remember that, do I have to say to remember that in the proper way? I keep saying things like that. And I used to have something in mind. It was sort of a trick. A small piece of legerdemain. Not real complicated. It's the kind of thing that if I was going to deal with it in a 5D universe, it wouldn't be in a big expensive book on magic. I'd probably wrap it up and put it in boxes of cereal and give it away. But at any rate, it used to have a purpose for me to say, if you could properly remember this. But any of you who are getting good, when it's something that you should not be able to remember, when it's something that is really foreign to the human thought processes, you can't improperly remember it. You can either remember it or you can't. You can't improperly remember something such as I'm describing. There's no way to sit around and improperly remember, all right, me wanting to change. All that is my own brain, the cells just as complex as they can be right now, as active as they can be. They're trying to get into new virgin areas. And that's what this is. That's why I'm feeling like that I should be out running. That's why I feel like I should go back to school. There's no way to improperly remember that. You just can't improperly remember it. Of course, you can't hardly remember it. There was a line that I heard several times back in the 60s. 1960s, that is. I was trying to place the most common possible source of it. It seemed like there was one comedian or some TV show within the so-called sub-drug culture. I heard it thrown around a while then. At any rate, the line was, it's all mental. But it seemed like there was some TV show, maybe somebody remembers, or some comedian, and it's kind of the punchline of things they would say. The guy would say, oh, it's all mental. But it was all done with a kind of milieu of a kind of druggy background, the psychedelic feel to it. So it almost the 1960 version, I guess, of some duded out surfer, with a half-baked brain and saying, oh, it's all mental. At any rate, I'm sure you've all heard somebody say that term, or God forbid, probably some of you have said it, that it's all mental. You know, it is. When I thought about it, if you can get down to see the very things that they thought that they were making light of, or somebody thought was funny, or that was ironic, to point out observations and then say, it's all mental. At that level, it is not unfair to say that it is all mental. Then what you're left with, ordinary people though, is that which obviously is separate from your brain, from your thinking processes. The banged up car in front of you, your place of employment that you hate, your sexual partner that you seem tired of, somebody at work that seems to rub you the wrong way just by being alive. All of that would seem to be undeniably separate from your mental. So there has got to be more to it than to say, well, it's all mental, unless some ordinary intelligence thought that I was playing some revisited Zen game and saying, well, everything's in your mind and you're dreaming all this. Let's don't go down that road tonight, because some of you then, you always go, it makes my head hurt. But there is a way in which that which seems to be singularly human problems, and again I mean that other than the most basic life-threatening physical maladies, but the things that would seem to be singularly human, problems that only humans have, not health problems. And we'll forget what they call it, psychosomatic. I love that. Psychosomatic illness. I need some fun. Wait a minute, I always enjoy that. Psychosomatic illness. I always like congenital illness too. I love that one. Maybe sometime we'll go into that, or take it on your own. A congenital illness, a defect, a congenital defect. You could say that everything is all mental, but it is not, I'm inferring, it is not me saying it's all psychosomatic if it gets to be illness, or I'm not saying that all problems are, as they would call it in the city, psychological. I am saying it is not for the thinking process, that is, being mental, you could have no human problem. Now that's what I was thrashing around and trying to push some of you towards Friday, but I only brought this up as a sidestep of that kind of continuing idea that people throw out, not philosophers, but just people in the street, people in bars, people in restaurants, to say, it's all mental, it's all in your mind. That satisfies no one. At the very least, it is now axiomatic, if not pedantic. No one pays it any attention. The other person may say, well, I guess you're right. I probably worry about it too much. And what they're saying tacitly, the unsaid part is, all right, to some degree, maybe I exaggerate it. Maybe you're right. I shouldn't worry about it. Bring us some more coffee. Bring us a check. But it changes nothing. To say that human problems are all mental, that it's all in your mind, if that had great, far-reaching, even around the corner from the 3D world validity, please note that there's no danger of it having any particular effect in the city. If it was pregnant, if it was explosive, if it is an incendiary device that is yet to be ignited and has just been laying around here all these years, notice it hadn't hurt anyone yet. People keep tossing it around and rolling it and throwing it from one yard to another, and the damn thing never has gone off. But people keep talking about it. Would anybody believe that at the cellular level, even life could have its little joke now and then at human expense? Not that it costs humans anything, that's a figure of speech. But that it has those kind of cellular agitations going on at that imaginary line that I had drawn, wondering what's going to go on, and they come up with such things as, hey, it's all mental. Where do we go from here? What are we all doing here? Why are we all excited? How come we don't calm down? How come we don't settle down? My aunts and my uncles, my brothers and sisters' selves, they're still back in New York and Philadelphia. What the hell am I doing out here? What are we looking for? And some of the other selves say, I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, it's all mental. One of them says, it's all in your mind. And one of the cells says, if it was a kind of Kyroot cell, I guess, one of them would say, you know what? If you turn that around, we might have something. Assuming cells could tell that they were in your mind, see. I want to pick up a piece of the string or carpet, again from the last two nights that I just waved at for you several times. And I decided to put a title to it. I'm going to call it the one-sentence theory, which I like the sound of that, and I'm fixing to fly right in the face of it by going to refer to the one word. But it doesn't, sometimes just the sound of something, trust me. The one-sentence theory, I like it. So now ignore it. You don't have to ignore it, but I'm going to have to, where I was going to point at is a little less than a sentence. Is everyone aware that all of the world's better known, more popular, and successful religions have somewhere in their version of Genesis, creation stories, somewhere along the line, every one of them has a variation of the one from the Old Testament of the Word, of God spoke the Word. In the beginning was the Word, or whatever, I can't quote it, but that all being chaos, remember, like the attorneys were in charge of the universe, and finally God looked upon it was all chaos, and in the beginning, what divided up chaos, void, non-entities, non-existence, whatever that would be, into order that got things going was what? According to all religions, somewhere, and all kinds of myths outside religions that don't appear to be religious, perhaps, ex post facto of you looking, but all along, it says over and over throughout the world, God or some gods was a word, the word, and it got it all going. My one sentence theory that I was going to throw on to you, which should really be called one word theory, but as I said, for my own reason, I like one sentence theory, even though it doesn't fit. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Well, anybody doesn't understand that, wait a minute, I got another one for you, as long as I'm here. Those of you people that may be seeing this for the first time, believe it or not, this is not a comedy act. You may not be laughing, but you may hear somebody else laugh, but I gotta tell you, it's not a comedy act. I saw a store. They're new to this part of the country, and the name of it is Your Choice $6. That's the name of the store. I haven't been in, but I have these kind of pictures because life talks to me sometimes, or I just have these weird ideas. A great store, here it is, so I won't trample upon their probably registered name, a store that says, Your Choice, $5. Or anything here, $5. And you go in, and it's just like any sort of like notion store that everything's regular kind of prices, you know, 99 cents, $4.99, $12.99, just regular prices. Just everything's marked as no different, and you look up the sign, and on the inside they got the sign up, you know, Your Choice, $5. You like it? Should I do more? Like somebody, of course this would not happen in life. Just this kind of thing can't happen, but if it did, then imagine that there you are, and you finally go to a salesperson, and you point on the wall, and you say, that's the name of the store, and they say, yeah, can I help you? Well, I just want to, is that the name of the store? Yeah. And these prices on all the items, that's the right prices. Well, yeah. Can I help you with something? Well, the name says Your Choice $5, but everything in here is just ordinary prices. And the person goes, yeah? Oh, wait a minute. I mean, you didn't think, that's just the name of the place. You didn't think, oh, that's the name of the store. That's just the name of the store. Is anything here $5? That's the name of the store. You think it was worth me taking out that several minutes See, I like the one-sentence theory, but what I'm going to talk about is the one-word theory. But I like the sound of the one-sentence theory better. What the hell you want, all right? So just remember, when I say one-sentence theory, I'm talking about the one-word theory, but I'm just calling, look at it as a store. The store, and the store is actually the one-word theory store, but the name of it is the one-sentence theory store, right? What difference does it make as long as you know what I'm talking about? Should I go back and even refresh anybody's memory, specifically from what I was talking about several nights ago? Well, let's do it indirectly. The one word that the guides here and there throughout the molecular memory of man is these guides somewhere, or a guide here and there, whatever his section was and whatever his time, has this one word that he goes, ah, and that gets it all going. That was just sufficient. But now consider this, the one-sentence theory, the one-word theory. His one word got it all going, but after that, there is no mention in any myth, well, there's some indirectly that I may mention, but it does not come out directly. There's no direct mention, there is no full coverage after that over the fact that once the one-word theory, once the one-word story, once this one-word scenario of a guide that put it all in motion, got everything finally going like we see it now more or less, but got it started. If we were talking about the one-word theory, look at it, it's like a one-note riff, if there was such a thing in music, just a one-note riff. After that, there's no mention made of the fact that out of that one word, one-note riff, that man has turned that one-note riff into a symphony, if not a cacophony, diverse, unrelated, at times harsh mixture of different sounds. Now, if I tried to hold some sort of theological discussion, I guess, with some, here's no one I like, religious thinkers. They're the kind of people that go in a store that was named anything in here $5 and complain. But at any rate, they could say, for the sake of some sort of philosophical discussion, if they thought that's what I was interested in, that yeah, in some way God may have set things going, and then man has really muddied up the waters. That things are not as direct, as pristine, as holy, as sacred as the guides intended. Well, our Western tradition. The Garden of Eden, everything's fine, right? Just fine as it could be, no taxes, no job, no alarm clocks, no disco. Don't write me if you're a fan of disco, because I don't even think disco's dead. I think it's only sleeping. So and that man, not the gods, but that man took the Garden of Eden and just mudded the whole thing up, just ran this whole planet amok to where we went from the Garden of Eden to Detroit. That is the march of progress that man has done. But it is not seen, I insist to you still, it is not seen, the comment is not made directly. They do not see any sort of connection. That is the cellular level that makes men come up with these stories that a God put out the word, and that one word put it all in motion. Put everything together, basically, that we have now, got it all rolling. There is no further energy, that is, stories coming from the cellular level of man's nervous system up here that fills in the rest of this. The only thing it sees that, all right, if there was that kind of beginning, we have in some way gone downhill. The only ones that seem to think about this are those who see it as being involution. That is, all right, is anybody following this? That if they were listening to me in the city and said, all right, you're saying that the myths that a god or the gods come up with one word and they say that, and so it starts off real simply, just like one atom, one molecule, And then after that, man has got in there and just turned it into all kinds of things that went from being a Garden of Eden to, they extend the city limits. They tried to have a plebiscite and they wanted to bring in part of the county so that they put in sewers. And the Garden of Eden got bigger and bigger, and then they began to pave over parts of it. They had to cut down some of the trees, and so then it just became Detroit. In other words, downhill. But there is no comment. It does not come out in the stories and myths of man that all of this, if it did come, because something makes people all over the world believe in these stories or repeat them, or to feel like, yeah, there's something there, of a God stood up in the midst of all the chaos, even if it was his chaos, and he said, all right, maybe all right was the word. But he goes, enough. Jeez. But he says the word, but after that, there is no need, there has not been, at the cellular level then for men to fill in that it's not simply going downhill, that it may have gone from a area or a time that would appear to be more pristine, forget just the Garden of Eden, but it went from being an area that was more simplistic to being more complex. And that man has taken, if there was a one word, there was this one thing, one shot fired and the race started. After that, man, if he was the creation of this God anyway, then he did not have any part to do with the first word. So he had to take what was there. And what was there was one note, one word, a one-note riff, if you want to make a music metaphor. And you took that one note and then turned it into every possible note you ever heard, all the combinations of it. But there is nothing in the ordinary, the old nervous system of humanity in general, that has ever had the need to fill in the rest of the story, to bring it up to that kind of date. It sees it all as being not simply a symphony, as when I threw in what at 3D would appear to be the negative aspect of cacophony instead of just a symphony of dissonant, unrelated, conflicting sounds. But even if that were true, it is a kind of increased enrichment that if it went from the one word, the one note riff, but this is not taken into consideration. Could I suggest to you that there is a quite personal, individual potential benefit to having this kind of continuing recollection that I'm presenting right now as the one-sentence theory? Those of you who see in this tapes, I don't deal in theories, this is all playing with words. The one-sentence theory, that everything that's ever been said came from one word. Every sound that's ever been made using the musical paradigm came from one note. Everything, every complex idea, all histories, all theories, all ideas in the soft sciences, all accepted facts in the hard sciences, all of it came from the initial one sentence or one word. If you had that kind of recollection, if you could see that this was all quite possible, what would that do to what appears to be the serious intransigencies of human life? Oh, all right. You're in the midst of some kind of soap opera affair. Somebody over here, an in-law, is cheating you, that got you into business. Then somebody else over here, just imagine. Don't even make all this up. Everybody's seen the soap opera, haven't you? Just turn them on in the afternoon for 5 minutes, any station. Imagine this complex situation. People cheating you, people lying about you, somebody threatening you that you don't yet know about, you suffering over things that you did last week. All of this. And those soap operas on TV, I still like them as examples because they rely so smashingly on non-stop verbalization, which makes them cheap to produce. They don't have to spend much on sets and not much of very low on second units, having to go outside the studio Plus it uses up time that they continue to talk about what happened either yesterday or just what happened before the last commercial break. They just keep talking and talking and talking. Well, you look worried. Are you still worried about what you were talking about yesterday? Yeah? You mean you're still worried about so-and-so? Yeah, I'm still worried about so-and-so. And so it's like a continuation that they just keep recycling yesterday's or the first half hour of the show. They keep recycling the same dialogue just over and over. Are you sure you're still worried about that? Well, I thought I was. Do you know something that I don't know from yesterday that I shouldn't be worried? No. Well, in that case, I am still worried. Are you really worried as much? You were looking a little better when the show was ending yesterday, but now you look re-worried. Yeah, I guess I am. It is a splendid example. It's cheap to produce. I don't know whether I should do this to any of you. Would you like to realize the parallel between that and your own thought processes, how cheap that is to produce? All you got to do is deal with which is a more appropriate term, to go ahead and call it an idée fixe or just soap opera mentality, just rechurning the same stuff over and over and over and over and over. That doesn't sound quite as potentially psychotic, if not neurotic, as to call it an idée fixe, like it's something you can't get out of your mind. You know, that keeps going over and over. That sounds pretty harsh, and maybe perhaps you need treatment, whereas if it's just ordinary intelligence, you just figure, well, hell, everybody goes around worried about what's going to happen to them all the time. Everybody keeps worrying about, what their woman's doing to them behind your back, or how I'm going to lose all my money. Everybody does that. That's not an idée fixe, whatever the hell that is. It's just ordinary concerns of the day. We got to turn the tape over. Well, how about a quick consideration of some potential tweeze? To what end might things be so arranged? You should be able to see that the obvious sight to first take is if indeed everything arose from a one-sentence theory, a verbal big bang, that indeed it was not just physical, that the universe went bang, and out of the bang came everything else that's ever been said. And that if you could pare it all down, like Bertie Russell and some of his cohorts thought, if you could pare down sentence down from atomic levels to molecular levels, you would get down, by God, to the truth. Take each little sentence and pare away all the superfluous crap and all the human emotions, which they were rightly against, being British. We'll get down to the level, and of course what he was talking about in a sense. His cells were talking about, even before there was such a cosmological theory perhaps, but it was like the Big Bang, is we'll take the sentence of one person telling another one, I cannot agree with your stand politically. Now if we tear all that down, we'll get down to the bang, that everything can finally be reduced to its original intent. Of course, I'm suggesting, since everything from philosophical examples I can make to the myths and the religious stories throughout history everywhere are based around this idea that if you could look at, from a certain view I started to say, the possible purpose of this is for a man to churn it up. It's for a man to make the one sound more complex. That it is in no wise a questionable undertaking, and is certainly in no wise an example of devolution. That is a growing complexity that, even though if I didn't stress it far enough, I could almost make it sound as though we could make fun of it, be sarcastic, or if we had a job, be critical of it. That, all right, the gods started off. They gave us the Garden of Eden. They gave us the one word, the bang, and everything was fine. And look how we have fucked it all up. It wouldn't take me long to do that. If I said, I'm going to play City Consciousness, and you just go ahead and play yourself, and you'll fall right along with it. That we could be down to the level of, boy, bring back Jacques Rousseau. He was correct. We all need to be noble savages. We all need to be Adam and Eve, and we need to cut out all this superficial, civilized crap. It's just killing us, making us sick, and giving us ulcers, and plus it costs too much. It sure is easy to get people's attention with that. It won't change their life, but it is real easy to get people's attention. Get up on a soapbox and holler that. Back to the bushes, back to all fours, back to going nude and eating berries. And people going by with suits on will stop and go, hey, sheesh, boy, I wish I could. I gotta go. You can get people to go, yeah, hey, wish I could, wish I could. But as always, anything that can apparently be looked at as being prejudicial to progress can be looked at just as easy as what I was just asking you to see, as being no such thing as that. But no matter that you can say, well, we got faster ways to die now. In the Garden of Eden, there was no chance of dying or being sick by air pollution. All right, there wasn't. People back then just naturally died by most reports about the age of 24. So you didn't have to worry about that. It is simply the complex nexus that the 3D world does not necessarily reveal to 3D consciousness. That you can see in any area, anybody. It doesn't take me. Anybody can stand up and say, this area, any area, motherhood, apple pie. Do you know how dangerous apples are now with the kind of chemicals they're finding on apples? Not only non-biodegradable out there in the world, in you, they stay there forever. And of course religions, boy, what a laugh. And anything that anybody could mention, your sorehead intelligence, or if we'll move up a little while, your cynical intelligence, or your critical intelligence can find anything and go, boy, what a joke. At the very least, ironic that the thing is turned into its own anathema. But there's another way, that all you got to do is belong here at all, and all you got to do is stand around another way, and you go, yeah, I can see why I would say that, I can see why other people would say that, but that's not true. It's not false, but it's not true. It is simply a crippled theory. It is simply a one-legged man that's blind. He's trying to play soccer. He's trying to tell me what I should think. Because all you got to do is walk around here and look at him the other way or hold up a mirror, and now he's not lacking one leg, he's lacking his his left leg, now he's short a right leg. And it's the same guy. You follow that? Never mind. It's all the same. But to be able to remember that is to be able to remember that I should not be being held captive in here by such ludicrous one-sided examples. That whatever it is, no matter what my ordinary intelligence might tell me to be, there is some basis somewhere of the human nervous system wanting to have stories, having stories, wanting to react to them, of in the beginning was one word that God said, boom, bang, bingo, go. One word, the one sense theory, and from that, everything else has blossomed. That it has no judgmental from any known city view. No judgmental aspect to that. It is simply that there is a missing part to such cellular-based stories that in the beginning was the one sentence, the one word, the one noise, and man has now recycled, rearranged, made up new chords, new bases of harmony, new theories of harmony. That which at one time was dissonant is now accepted as harmonic. All of this is a flowering from possibly the one-word theory, the one-word beginning, the Big Bang. And it's man's job to do it, and any passing notion that all right, man's running amok with it. It's like me telling you can't remember something improperly regarding this. Man cannot run amok by making things more complex. There are things that man does, that life does through man, that comes and goes. There are things that life tries for a while and goes, no. And it goes away. It goes to live with the angels. You don't ever hear about it again. It might show up in the history books. But you wonder, whatever happened to that group of people? Or whatever happened to that group of people in that experiment they were doing for a while? They were there with somewhere eating hamburgers up in Minneapolis. But at any given time, you are back in the hands of old, I'm talking about old, decrepit, one-legged, half-blind, city intelligence. If you've got any notion that you'll entertain seriously that what's going on in general of man's increasing complex life, if it in any way is involution, then know that you are now part of involution. To see it that way. Because as long as things are becoming more complex, they're expanding. Things can get so complex in certain ways and get dangerous and seem to even be self-defeating, and things do go away. a certain line that was going and getting very complex. Oftentimes it gets in a certain way. I'll point this out just in passing. Some of you should suspect this. And wars seem to clean it up. But at the time, people involved, what appeared to be people involved, numbers of people, a movement, a nation, some whole tribe or state, was getting very complex. At times they seem to get dangerous, and life goes and it spits, and that's the end of that. But you are making a very crippled, a very poor, a very tired mistake to listen to your own selves that are so dumb as to be critics and cynics and soreheads, and to believe that you are seeing, or wait, this will never do right there. What's going on right there? Now there is a perfect example of life going down the tubes. There's an example of you going down the tubes. When I was asking to what ends, that is that man, apparently, if we're taking the one-word theory, that man has been in charge of taking the one word and turning it into all sorts of new complex sentences, more and more complex, longer and longer and longer. If one of it is simply to spread energy, recycle energy, make it more available. There are more people. Life is getting bigger. The universe is getting bigger. The earth is getting bigger. But other than that, I could leave you with one other possibility. You can fill in your own. You can go on with this almost forever. How about another one? Since I was bringing up music, is one tropic parallel to the one sentence theory of me pointing out if there's such thing as a one-note riff. I still like that. A one-note riff and turning it into a symphony. To carry that a little further, could you see that part of the possible to what ends are things so arranged could be, staying with the music motif, everybody remembers the nice stories about that great pleasure ship, the Titanic. And there are also stories that right at the end, being British, and they were so well trained that the band actually stayed in their tuxedos and was playing. Could you see, carrying this musical metaphor to its very watery, well-deserved grave end, of life having men take this one-note riff and getting musically inclined, and now they're spending a great deal of their attention and energy debating which song we should actually be playing right before the ship goes down. Right before your ship goes. Right before the cells knowing that at the 3D level, everybody's ship is going to be labeled right at the end. You look down and written on the side of your bow it says Titanic. You know, I didn't know. I thought I was immortal. And those around you, we didn't think that, but well, I thought I was. But up until then, it's like your internal musicians have spent 60, 70, 80 years debating, arguing. All right, what number should we be playing? What's our theme song? Like, what's the theme of my life? What will be my great grand entry march? You know, what will even overdo Aida? When I enter triumphantly into my great glory, what will we be playing? When it's actually, unbeknownst to people, they don't analyze it this way, that the cells are saying, all right, what is going to be this great number? Is they're all staying there at the rail, that is all of me, and I go down. But without knowing that, it sort of keeps you involved, keeps you distracted. You stir up large amounts of energy, or at least sufficient energy, along the way, debating what will be my final number. How about something that maybe some of you can find immediately practical, as long as I am still referring to the internal situation, the normal established one, as being a kind of partnership, that there being at least at any given time two apparent yous inside. I'm reserving the right and threatening some of you, is what I've been trying to set you up for the last 2 weeks, to pull that out from under you and make you see that there's another way to look at it instead of calling it a partnership. But until then, I have something that I think some of you could use practically and probably very quickly, and so I won't pull it out from you tonight. But taking the partnership as it appears to be, that at any given time, all of you have got to see there seems to be two something others in you, two thinking things, two stuffs in you, two me's. At least on the basis, you got to see this, that you can say, I should get up early in the morning. People don't, when you say you talk to yourself, and I don't mean out loud, it's not necessary. That's as good as any, because you are saying, and I'm not playing with words, you are saying that there's somebody to listen. Now that's the whole world. The whole friggin' world is nuts, because everybody talks to themselves. You talk to yourself on the basis that there is apparently something else in you that listens. And continually, you don't look at it this way until I point it out to you, it answers. But you normally think of it, or ordinary people in the city, if they even thought about it this way, they'd say, well, all right, maybe you're speaking metaphorically, because I guess I answer myself. I say, all right, I'm going to start getting up early in the morning. And then a few minutes later, I may say to myself, well, should I start this week? Or maybe I'll say, well, why? I just got carried away. The only reason I said that was that damn show about people who got jogging every morning. What do I care? And then a few minutes later, an hour later, a day later, you say, well, hell, if I can do it, I can do it. I can try it if I don't like it. Anyway, you've got to see you would not be doing this were it not for there being two blanks in you. Possibilities, potentials, two tongues, two ears, one ear, one tongue. All of you should be sufficiently apprised and aware that that is true in you. I know how hard it is to remember, because the conversation between the two, at the times it just seems to be a monologue with you, that seems to be you, and that kind of you does not take time out to go, wait a minute, this is not really me talking, I'm just part of that partnership. I'm just one part of it. Don't pay attention to what I said. All right, you can pay attention, but do not give it any more than 50% of the potential weight that you would give to a serious comment you might make, because I'm only half of whatever you are. It does not it does not do that, of course. But here was what I was going to say that some of you should be able to use before I try and disarm you from that noun type idea of there being a partnership. But here it is. Regarding all of human problems, so good old ordinary, singular, unique human problems. And you've got to be thinking of whatever the problem is, or you wouldn't have the problem. You hadn't forgotten that since Friday, right? And if you got some human problem, social problem, economic, a human problem that only a human could have, not a possum and probably not a ferret, but only a human, a good, upstanding, card-carrying human like you. All right, you've got the problems gone bye-bye, unless you're thinking about it. You hadn't forgotten that. So whatever the human problem is that you have, here is what you can do. Here is what you should do, as long as I let you keep the partnership. Here's what you should do, right then, instantly, in the full sense of the word instantly. You should instantly take that problem and let the partnership, the partner that is not thinking about it, in other words, right at that time, he's the silent partner, or she is the silent partner. The active one, apparently the talking one right then, is the one thinking about the problem. All right, we got that, and everybody knows that. You got to act fast, though. All right, take the problem and turn it over to the silent partner. The one that's silent right then. Give him or her the problem, and then you, the one that was thinking about the problem. Now, trust me, this will work. And it won't mess up anything. Then you think of anything but that problem. Anything. But I can be a little more specific. Try and do something that is intellectually at least stimulating or challenging. Just think about, try and ponder what you can do with the information you've read about the perceived or theorized size of the universe. Just look up in the heavens and think, how far away, if I could see a star in the daytime, what is a light year? What is 10 million light years? What sense can I make of how close Orion is from here? How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? Is do anything. But it would be good, challenging, try and think back. All right, what's the formula when you take x plus y squared? Do something, but take the problem and literally turn it over to what is instantly, that is right then, the partner that was not thinking of the problem. Put the son of a gun to work. And I'm telling you, this is built upon a neurobiological reality that's not understood. It's not used, it's not necessary. But take the problem, whatever it is, and what you're doing is you're saying, all right, you, of course, you're the one now talking. And you're saying you to the one that's not talking. You're saying, all right, you take care of this. You worry about it right now. Not being sarcastic. Doesn't do any good to be sarcastic. Most of you don't know how with your own partner. If you do, that's a whole nother trip. That's what some of the Kyroots stories about the guys that keep looking in the mirror at themselves in the morning. And all you do is laugh. You tell the partner, the silent partner that's there, he's listening to you talk about what we got to do. Or, Jesus, how am I ever going to get through this? The same problem I've had all my life, or the same problem I've had all week. All right, you go, all right, you think about this. You work on it. I'm going to think about the size of the universe. I'm going to think about whether I can, as fast as my heart beats, do the multiplication tables of 13. 13 times 1. But take the problem and give it to the silent partner. The one who was silent right when you were thinking of the problem. Trust me. Do I have to point out the obvious? You hadn't been doing anything with it, or it wouldn't still be a problem. You just keep going around and around. You don't get anywhere with it. That's not really the reason, but I'm just trying to point out that there is. If any of you still insist on being, I hate to say this, logical. I didn't want to be sick. Reasonable. That there is a basis for it. Turn to the silent partner and say, like J.B. used to do with Nat Hendricks, take it. Give the drummer some. You give it to the partner. There he sits. You got it. And then you go off and you think about anything but that and leave it to the silent partner. Now, that's fair enough. That is a very practical little weapon. Next on our agenda. We don't have an agenda. Oh. Which is just as well since I don't have a next. All right. Yeah, I do. And here it is. There was a priest and a rabbi waiting for a bus. There is another practical aspect that may seem so crude, but it's a nice place to point out that almost everybody will nod to this. But it's another prime example of you can take note of it and even go, yeah, 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 and your own molecules just want to join right in. The whole archipelago of all of your little nervous system cells go, yeah, yeah, yeah. You can note it, but you can't remember it. And it's simply this, that regardless of what you do or what you don't do, almost everything will be better in the morning. And that covers a wide spectrum. It goes all the way from fears to the big 3 H's. Health, heartbreak, and hangovers. But it goes all the way from, because something finally is going to kill you. I don't have to keep pointing that out, surely. But I was going to say health. which is the basis of the old joke with doctors. If they're not sure what to do or they don't want to fool you, it's too late at night, just take 2 aspirin and call in the morning. Because it is just almost a rule that everything from your health, not necessarily long range, because long range, but however you're feeling, heartbreak, fears, God, I'll never make it through the night, the terrible thing that awaits me tomorrow, root canal work, a tax audit, having to go see an attorney, a priest, a rabbi, a bus driver. That, all the way from what appeared to be real serious, like your health, into fears. Fears that make one sick. No matter what you think about it, no matter what you don't think about it, no matter what efforts you try to execute, actions you take, not just plans, whatever you do that night or whatever you fail to do. Generally speaking, almost everything's going to be some better in the morning. And almost everybody, I guess, would go, yeah. If that ain't proverbial, that's axiomatic, isn't it? I got to go. Nobody, notice, nobody is wired up to have any continuing recollection of that. If you're sitting around and you don't feel good, or you got this terrible fear of what's going to happen, what have I done to my life? That one word I said, that one faux pas I made yesterday, the one thing I did at the office today, what may happen tomorrow, to the point that you are physically getting ill and you don't know what to do. Notice you are not wired up to remember what I just pointed out, that, as I said, is almost axiomatic. It's almost a cliche in the worthless extreme. That people go, yeah, well, sure, anybody knows that. No, they don't. You don't know it if you don't remember it, if you can't use it. That if there you sit and you don't know what else to do, you think, well, I may belong in a revolutionary activity, but I'm sure not smart enough now. I don't know enough that here I sit and I'm afraid of what's going to happen in the morning, tomorrow. And part of me, I guess part of the partnership, tells me that it can't be that bad. And I even try to rationalize. I say, well, what's the worst can happen? I'll die, or they'll fire me, or I'll live through this. No matter all that, if you could just remember, all right, I don't know what to do. Right now, I do not know what to do. I don't know what to think about this. I sure don't know any action to take. To have a full knowledge, if life would arrange or allow ordinary people to be so arranged, that even though I don't know what to do, I know this. If I just lay down and take a nap, or just lay down and close my eyes, and it's just a few more hours to sunrise, I just lay down here a second. In the morning, almost everything is some better. And I'm being charitable to say some better. Almost everything will be better in the morning. And who can remember that? Now you could say, well, sure, if that was worthwhile, I could remember it. I'd write it down. I'd embroider it on some kind of little plaque and I'd hang it up above my bed. No, you wouldn't. Or if you did, you'd forget what's there within a couple of nights. If I asked you to describe your bedroom, you could describe everything but that. You'd never remember that. Do you understand it would be a kind of interference with the churning action of your account? Do you understand it is a kind of interference with the normal hunger and agitation of your own brain cells to let's do something new? Well, the same old stuff, but let's do something new. And for you to realize that the same old stuff and what they're calling the brand new or something new, whether it seems to be downhill right now, if it seems to be oppressive to me, I know for a fact that if I don't do anything else, if I just lay down here and snooze for a minute, just rest my eyes and get up in the morning, it'll be better. The hell it will. No, it won't. No. I can't remember. What did you just say? I don't remember that. No. Something's got to be done. Some action's got to be taken. All right, what? Well, I don't know. Okay. If you know, do it. But I'm telling you, and everybody knows this, sort of, that no matter what you do or what you don't do, almost everything will be better in the morning. I just threw that in as a corollary to the real one, of turn over your problems to the silent partner. Of course, all good corollaries, the way I use them, is to normally is when I think, well, it needs to look a little more plain. Instead of trying to sell them on Rocky Road, maybe I should just present it as just being straight out and out chocolate. But all corollaries are as good or better than that which they're correlating. Of course, I can make a corollary of that corollary and refer it back and say, hey, it's all mental. But I could make a corollary to that corollary, if you really know how to do it, and that is you got a human problem. And you're trying to remember, wait a minute, it could all just be mental, whatever the hell that means. Or wait a minute, it could be that, is that really true that everything's, no matter what it is better in the morning? You could do all that. But if you're really good, I could make the corollary to all of that, and that's, hey, forget it. But you notice I was trying to go toward what appears to be the more simplistic from even the sentence. The first one was, well, almost everything will be some better in the morning. I went all the way from that to, hey, forget it. So it appears to be at least becoming more simplistic, right? But it's not, because it takes somebody very complex to think, well, all right, if I knew what action to take, I might take action tonight. Since I don't know what action to take, I could try and rely upon that idea that everything almost is some better in the morning. Of course, that, you know, somebody says that sounds all right, but now let me see if I can think of any exception or so. So it would all appear to be complex, right? As opposed to me saying, forget it. That would be the real dictum. That would be the real theory, is the forget it theory. It is not really more simplistic, because who can do that? In the city, who can do that besides somebody with a idiocy rating? In the city, that wouldn't work. That is, an ordinary person couldn't do it in the city. You can forget all that if you want to. I just threw that in as to take it to a more complex, undergrown area. All right, one more. Then we'll consider the agenda was agendized. Something else that all of you could use, and perhaps I will expand on it some other time, but I will go ahead and tell you, I brought it up in another context recently, that for all revolutionary purposes, and to get you through ordinary life, those of you that still think you've got some difficulty getting through ordinary life, of course those of you who think that, you should become your own Kyroots story and get up every morning, go look in the mirror and say something. Even if you got to use one of the Kyroots stories. But you should go into the mirror every morning and look at yourself and go, and take it from there. But if you still feel as though you have some sort of problems, it is not just believing that you have the knowledge of what correct actions to take, or that you're lacking certain necessary information to put together a new form of action, or to calculate some new plan. Look at it another way. You're lacking the energy. Even though your cells may be telling you, well, I don't know what to do, because I got the energy, I've got the desire to overcome this, or to change this, to struggle against this, I do not know what to do. I know you can say that, and I can respond to it, and I can make up examples and apparently sketch out maps based upon that. And based upon this being new kinds of information, I can just as properly say it's really got nothing to do with information, it has to do with energy. Because if the brain cells, just as the would-be squatters are running out as soon as they announce it's time for everybody to run and get their land, they don't know where they're going. The brain cells don't know what the knowledge is. It is the energy. It is the ability to move. So, for revolutionary purposes, and for a few unordinary people to be able to deal with what appears to be their continuing problems in life, you need to finally see, you need to accept, and then to use the fact that oftentimes in doing this, that the pretense of intensity is the necessary intensity that you need. In the city, would that fly? Not even if they understood it. And I'm not even sure any of you even heard the sentence. When it's necessary, the pretense of intensity has to become your intensity. In the city, I'll assume now that some city consciousness heard that, and they go, Jesus, we are getting into the area that makes Alice in Wonderland appear to be a version of the Brady Bunch. That this is really dangerously insane. In the city it would be. But in the city they just say, hey, that's dangerously insane, even if I understand what you're saying, and they'd forget about it. Everybody in this, you keep waiting for increased intensity. Part of what seems to be going on here on the nights that we meet is when it seems to be hitting right, and all the little machine is swinging correctly, that apparently you get enthused. That I help convey, I help encourage some kind of intensity on your part. A resolve to go forth and revolution even better. To go forth and to think better. And on nights we're not meeting. As you think, what can I do? I'll think new thoughts. I'll run more. I'll eat more. I'll eat less. I'll run less. I'll exercise some more. I'll change from running to swimming. I'll change from swimming to jumping up and down. I'll quit listening to music at all. I'll quit listening to this kind of music. I'll listen to another kind of music. I'll quit reading this kind of stuff and I'll watch TV. I'll throw away my TV. All of that, you're looking for intensity. Energy. But not just everyday energy. That's why I didn't say energy. You're looking for a kind of intensity because you've got enough energy to do whatever it is you're doing in life. No matter what you believe, you've got enough energy to do that or you wouldn't be doing it. So you got that, but what you're asking for is intensity. And you keep waiting for damn magic. Or you keep waiting for me to announce that we're going to meet 7 nights a week. Or you keep waiting for me to be able to magically, as far as you're concerned, that I can infuse you every time we meet as good as I seem to sometimes. When it is needed, a real revolutionist, somebody's going to do this, you have got to see. You've got to accept and you've got to use it. You've got to see it's not some kind of cheap trick. It's an expensive trick. It's an expensive cheap. It's not even a trick. You have got to pretend. The intensity comes about through a pretense of intensity. That's it. And you can wait around forever. That okay, somebody is accidentally going to give me a Ferrari. I mean, if enough Ferraris get made and shipped to this country and bought, sooner or later the law of averages, if you're from Alabama, will catch up with me and they'll say, this prepaid Ferrari we have here, who does it go to? And somebody's going to say, well, it's Mr. Fred Brookshire down in Smyrna, Georgia. And it'll be me, and they'll accidentally send it to me. But if I lay here long enough, Dom Perignon will suddenly come out of the clouds and it'll just pour down my gullet. That's the same kind of belief, as silly as that may sound. It is the same kind of belief that the intensity, that the guides or the secret force behind this kind of activity, or that me, which is part of my job, I accept that. But that you keep thinking, well, it's always a matter that I have got to have some new increased intensity to get me over this present lull, this present difficulty I seem to have, this indecision, my tiredness, the pretense of intensity. You've got a good example of it. You know I damn seldom hold myself out as any sort of example. It is the pretense of intensity. That is what is needed. Anything else you're waiting on, you might as well be either a priest or a rabbi waiting on a bus. They're waiting for me to finish that story. I'll repeat it one more time. For revolutionary activity, and in many of your cases out there, but it's really specifically having to do with this is the reason I bring it up. The necessary intensity is coming about through the pretense of intensity. That's it. It becomes the needed intensity. Do I have to make it any cruder? I can make it verbally cruder than the pretense of intensity. But that is quite descriptive. It conveys everything verbally and literally that I meant to convey. You're not waiting, if you understand what I'm saying. You're not waiting for the gift of the gods. You're not waiting for the muses to sing the songs again in your ear. You're not waiting for the drugs to kick in. You're not waiting for magic, apparently from without, since there is no without. The magic is in your own cells, but you got to get them going. You got the potential to have agitated cells, or you wouldn't be here. But then you keep waiting. Yeah, but they're not agitated enough. Oh, okay, I agree. Now are you happy? Now what? Of course, your idea would be, well, don't ask me now what. You're in charge. You tell me now what. All right, I just did. The needed intensity for revolutionary activity is going to come about from the pretense of intensity. What the hell are you waiting on? If life wanted everybody to be excited about this, it wouldn't be just handfuls of people throughout history being involved with this. It'd be the same kind of intensity that sends out 100,000 people down in Bogota to a soccer game, and then makes 80,000 of them attack the other 20,000, and to tear down the stadium and run amok, and decide they're going to attack Kentucky. Life is not going to produce the kind of intensity that people dream of. Not just you, but throughout the history of the so-called spiritual, metaphysical, occult world of the dreams, that suddenly in the middle of the night something touched my soul and I jumped out of bed and I thought, I have got to move to Tibet and to find the great teacher. You know, that's simple enough to say that. In fact, it's even simpler and more simple to arrange your life to get on a bus. I guess you have to take a boat first, but then up on a bus and go to Tibet. It's easier to do that than do what I'm saying. It's to understand that life, the gods, the forces, cannot be relied upon to individually give you the intensity to do this. It does not need this done on any great level. If it did, it would be sparking the kind of enthusiasm that follows the Lakers or the NBA would be involved with this. And it is not that. So you're waiting, well, if God wants me to do this, He's going to have to give me a little more energy. I feel like that I probably should be doing this, and I feel like that the gods have selected me. Of course, I always knew I was a little out of the ordinary and was destined for great things. But how come the gods and the forces can't give me a little more intensity and get me going with this? Look around, look around, look around. It's not available. Life is not going to make available a large pool of intensity for people to do this. It doesn't need it. So, assuming everybody needs a little more intensity, we'll assume that. Where's it going to come from? You know, other than me. Other than apparently me. Where's it going to come from? Do we have to take a long time and everybody try and guess where it's going to come from? You know, I've cut out everything outside of you. Does that give you any kind of hint? Those of you who got pencil and paper, perhaps you'd like to make some diagrams. If I've cut out everything that's not you, then where is this intensity going to come from? Can I have a hint? No. Because then the obvious one, even after you get past that little joke, it's all right, me. Well, where do I start? How am I going to pick myself up by my own shoe straps? How am I going to grab my own ankles and get going? How can I get started? I just told you. The pretense of intensity becomes the intensity. I don't know. If I got the energy later when I get home, just before I go to sleep, maybe I'll think about it. It's only people with old ordinary intelligence that believes that there is any difference, I'll get cruder since the tape's running out, that believes there's any difference between faking something and it being true. It's only people back in the city that believe that. And even they don't believe it. We're running out of tape. They don't believe it, or they would not buy into the stories that themselves give out about gods and religions. But when they're asked point blank, and when they're asked to try and execute this, that is, hey, if you fake something, it's the same as doing it. They go, oh, well, that puts you in a home. That'd drive you nuts. Of course, my answer, if I talked to people in the city, would be, well, what the hell do you think you are now? But I wouldn't say that to people in the city. The intensity, that which becomes a necessary intensity, starts off as the pretense of intensity. So everybody wants to wait under a fig tree and wait for the reincarnation of Buddha to fall out on your head. To wait for the muses and the cosmic forces to wrap you in its little arms. To be a Michelangelo of the gods going zing and get you all charged up. You're going to wait a long time, a long time. You'd be better off trying to become a soccer star. You'd be better off trying to become rich and let that be your idée fixe. Do something in the city. You're much more likely, understated, to apparently have life give you some intensity to try and become sheriff, try and run for Congress, try and get rich, try and save enough to get a nose job. But to wait for intensity to just spill forth from the great dark corners of the universe to inspire you to do this, you're in for a long, long, cold, continual winter. But, on the other hand, the intensity is always right here. All it requires is a soupçon of your own intention. The pretense of intensity becomes the necessary intensity when we're out of tape. I promised somebody it was going to be more fun instead of me continuing to mispronounce faux pas as fox pass periodically as the great example, which I always liked, of an ultimate fox pass, or faux pas, was to do it with soupçon. But then I was afraid a long time that it took so many people so long to ever figure out that fox pass was some kind of joke. Because I was afraid what would happen with bye.